Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister. I was asked to be brief, so I'll try. I have 3 questions, Minister. First of all, last week, as you know, we had the NCSE with us, and I asked them if they're planning their analysis in regard to the need for school places was robust enough, so that your department, that schools, could plan ahead. And I suppose I'm asking you the same question, because given the legislation that we'll be dealing with this week, I suppose what I want to ask you is, does any aspect of that process need to be strengthened, the planning? My second question is, you spoke earlier about the interest among teachers. Do you have any indication of the level of that interest among teachers in providing special education? And you told us about the supports for teachers who are already in place. But I just wanted to ask you, has there been any reorientation in regard to teacher training modules for new teachers? Because from my own perspective, I think that's crucial. First of all, for all teachers, because if education is to be inclusive, I think there needs to be reorientation, but also for teachers who would wish to specialise, that it is seen as an attractive proposal, shall we say. And finally, around July provision, all of us have received so many emails from people right across the country, parents who are beyond distressed. I mean, I know one parent said to me, we're now in lockdown until September 1st. And I think that gives an indication of how acute this problem is. So in that context, Minister, have you given any thought to childcare practitioners, many of whom who have level 6, level 7 qualifications? They've expressed an interest in providing July provision. I understand it's not something you can just do overnight, but have you looked at that? Are you planning for it? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Deputy, for your questions. Just around the forward planning, I mean, there are a range of strategic initiatives that we're building on. Some of those recommendations were set out in the Ombudsman's report, and we've been building on those anyway for the last 2 years. And as I said, he did acknowledge that there has been a lot of work done over the last 2 years with the Department, the NCSE patrons and management bodies. There's also updated technical guidance for building projects, and there's the future proofing, which I just mentioned a few moments ago, in terms of accommodation into the future for all new schools, and the modular accommodation framework is also in place since 2021. And there's also an expansion of existing planning exemptions for additional accommodation at existing school sites as well. And usually what happens if a school applies for additional accommodation under the scheme, they're usually requested to put in an SEN provision when they come to the department looking for a new project. The strategic initiatives have helped to deliver permanent accommodation for 292 special classes, and there's an additional capacity for 122 classrooms in 22 special schools, and that's during the NDP period. So there's 700 projects under the NDP which will deliver 1,300 new SEN classrooms and 200 replacement classrooms for 7,800 pupils in primary and post-primary, and almost 100 are currently on site. Delivering classroom spaces for almost 1,000 additional SEN pupils. So taken together, that will enable about 50% new additional or modular or modernised accommodation at special schools. And also I mentioned in my original opening statement that 60% of post-primary schools either have an existing school special class or they have a project on the school at the moment. I think you also asked around, so I am satisfied insofar as I can be in terms of the forward planning. It's vastly different to what was there before, and I think it will make a significant difference into the future. Just around the training as well, you asked around that for teachers, particularly around newly qualified teachers. I know that there is a lot of work from the National Induction Programme for teachers, which offers a range of induction workshops specifically for newly qualified teachers.
No, for teacher training, the courses themselves.
The teacher training, yeah, so there's a mandatory inclusion module that all teachers would do, that they're qualified then to teach, but the NCSE has said that only experienced teachers should really teach in special classes and special schools, I suppose for obvious reasons. There's also postgraduate, a lot of postgraduate training programs there as well, diploma programs and a graduate certificate as well. And through the professional development supports as well, and the teaching professional learning, there's a lot of different, so there's a significant investment going into training at the moment, because obviously when I first came into this role, which was newly created, it was one of the biggest things that I heard from teachers and from the larger school community, was that training was something that they really needed. So significant investment and significant efforts have gone in to making sure that we have got sufficient training in place. And just to say to you, in Sligo we've 24 special classes and 2 special schools, and in Leitrim we've 19 special classes at present.
And childcare practitioners.
Yeah, I think just around the July provision, you know, and bringing in childcare care workers, yeah, I mean, it is something that we are looking at already, and we're reaching out beyond the traditional, I suppose, education staff, and we're going to engage with other departments and other agencies as part of the planning for 2023. We did have an inspectorate report which informed our summer programme this year, and we listened to the feedback from different stakeholders, and I think we can build on that again for next year.
Thanks very much, Minister.